Everybody, welcome to Fulfillment Project. We have Leah Ellis, the founder and executive director of the Society of Child Entrepreneurs, a nonprofit that empowers kids aged 6 to 17 to lead, launch, and grow real businesses from their own ideas. From her kitchen table while raising her own 4 kids, she turned her family's entrepreneurial curiosity into a full curriculum. Leah brings years of experience as a serial entrepreneur. She's run a financial coaching business. She's worked with Girl Scouts. And what truly drives her, and this stuck out to me a lot, is she wants to help young people find their agency. Does that topic sound familiar on this podcast? She believes that kids don't have to wait to lead and that entrepreneurship is a powerful way for them to learn resilience, self-confidence, and how to make meaningful change in their communities. So everyone, I think you have someone in mind that you're going to want to listen to this episode with Leah today. Get ready to hit share because she's got a lot of good stuff to give to us. Leah, welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here and to talk about the amazing kids that I get to work with and teach all the time.
Yeah, well, let's start. I've been noodling around with this question for a couple months. I've never asked anybody it yet, but I want to start off, Leah, and just see how this goes. How would you define yourself? I just gave an intro about what you do, but how do you define yourself, who you are?
So I feel like the best way to describe me, if you've never met me before, is a super ADHD type A mom who wants to see her kids and their entire generation be amazing humans by going and giving them the ability to do it now.
Okay. What was the inspiration? Clearly, we've got 2 kids, so I know how much work that is. I'll double that to make your 4 kids. So I can't imagine, and you're doing a lot of stuff. Why?
So again, super ADHD. So my brain doesn't like to sit still and my body doesn't either. And so I generally have some type of idea that I'm thinking about and working on. And way back pre-COVID days, infinity years ago or something like that, I had a in-home childcare. And so I taught 3-year-old little girls engineering curriculum and I loved it. It was amazing. But right before COVID, we found 10 years worth of black mold in the walls of a house I had only owned for 18 months. So
Oh
we
boy.
had to completely gut our house. The entire ground floor was redone. Half of the upstairs had to be redone. And that meant my daughters and I lived in a temporary housing hotel, a long-term stay hotel for about 6 months. My husband was deployed for part of it and then he was home for part of it. So it was also like the struggle of getting routines and everything in a hotel.
Oh my word.
It was a lot. And so we finally moved back home January 31st of 2020. My husband redeployed on February 1st of 2020. And we had grand plans of reopening our daycare. March 17th of 2020 was our grand reopening. But we were in Los Angeles County, and that was the exact day that they issued the stay-at-home order for our county. So
No.
nobody showed up to my grand reopening. And then to add insult to injury, within a week, the city that we lived in had opened a free for essential workers childcare facility that you could walk to from my house.
Yikes. So there goes anyone who wants to pay you for the same service they can get for free down the road.
Yeah, we were done for. And so my husband was deployed and I was at home with the girls and we realized we were going to need to buckle down. This was going to last for a little while. We decided to start a financial coaching business via the internet. So I could do client meetings via Zoom. I did training calls online. My husband and I did business spreadsheets through Google Sheets so that we could share them back and forth and see live updates together while we were on the phone and he was on the other side of the world. And we started our business. But because I was home with a 4-year-old and a 1.5-year-old, I watched a lot of business training videos on the living room TV so that I could watch them while supervising the kids and doing chores and, still being a mom. And my 4-year-old came up to me and said, I'm going to start a business too.
No, that is so cool.
That's exactly what I said. I said, no way, you're 4. And if you've ever spoken to a 4-year-old, they all have a universal favorite word. And so she pulled her favorite word right out of her pocket. She looked at me and she said, why?
Great word. And I think more adults should be more liberal with that word as well, instead
Right.
of taking so many things for granted.
So I didn't have an answer. I mean, at the end of the day, it was unprecedented times. So why not do unprecedented things? So I let her borrow my Facebook, and we went into one of the business moms groups that I was in, and she did a poll for what to name her business. She set up a Google form so you could order her product. She
What
launched
was her product? What'd she do?
so at 4.5, she launched Melody Paints, which is custom drip arts. So you take a Google form, you tell her what color of art you want and whether you want to pay $1 for glitter or not. And then she takes your colors and creates,
Charge.
right.
Yes.
So then she creates a custom piece of artwork based on the colors you selected that's inspired by Jackson Pollock's really big, vibrant drip art, but in colors that match your home. So you feel really excited to hang it up. And so she sold them. I really expected her to sell to like a couple grandmas and maybe an aunt. She ended
Yeah.
up shipping to the opposite side of the country. She had people in the business moms group were buying them for their offices. She did way better than we expected. And there's a picture on her Facebook page for Melody Paints of 5-year-old Melody sitting on the floor in the middle of my garage with 80 paintings all around her.
No way.
It's amazing. Yeah. So then when we started to reopen in Los Angeles County, she was one of the featured artists in the city's Authors and Artists Expo. We did our first children's business fair and she loved it. And then in 2023, we finally moved from Southern California back to the Midwest. And in that move, once we were stable, I realized we needed to do something to get into our community again. So I
Yeah.
hosted in June of 2024 my first children's business fair that I was actually the host and not just a attendee. And
Participant. Yeah.
it was amazing and I loved it. But then all the kids left. Like, we did no lead up before the event. We did this event. We put a bunch of kids in this room. They made a ton of money. One little boy made $300 in 4 hours. Like, it was amazing. And then we
Yo, I'd like to make $300 in 4 hours.
sent them home with no follow-up. Like, there was no learning
Mm.
beforehand. There was no learning afterward. And in the middle of selling to the community, I can't really be talking to them about the skills they're using. And
Yeah.
so the educator in me was like, this will not stand. We have to stop. So
We must do something.
right. So I convinced some of my friends that had only known me for a year that they should be the board of directors for a nonprofit that I had this crazy idea to start. I convinced my husband to give me a founder's loan to start this new business because I was still a stay-at-home mom at the time. And so I didn't have any of my own legitimate income that I could use. So I convinced him to let me take some of our family money to start it. And now we're planning our second birthday party for this July. We have a full 36-week curriculum. We published a book. We have mascots. We have an online community. And the kids that I have stories and just stories and stories for days because they are brilliant.
You are slaying. So we're in Toledo, Ohio. My wife's in a mom's group. I can't wait to send them the link to this. Where do they find it? What's the website? Where do people get this stuff?
So if you just want to learn about us in general, then you can go to SOCEICT.org, which is Sochi ICT. If you want to be involved in it, we have a school community. So it's skool.com/SOCE circle. And that is our online community. And it's still very new, so it's not super active, but it's going to continue to build and it will get active. And in that group, you can download my lesson plans that you can teach at home with your own kids, or you can do it in small groups or with friends. You can join beta groups and test groups for pilot programs that I'm testing. And there is a weekly challenge that I post. So every week I post some type of family challenge that you can do at home with your kids to practice these skills.
Hey, everyone. Quick 10-second ask from you. If you're digging the show and you're watching on YouTube, please give it a thumbs up and comment your favorite part. If you're listening on Spotify, please give this show a 5-star rating. On iTunes, please leave a quick review. If you're listening on Substack, please subscribe and join the comments. You may want to subscribe in a few different places. For example, YouTube, you get all of our short content, 60-second to 90-second clips, our segments where we segment out 1 to 6 minute different segments of each episode. And then if you subscribe on the Substack, I summarize the episode in a newsletter. You can read it in a couple minutes. And then a couple days after the episode, I put out a self-reflection guide to help you personalize the content to your life. Thank you so much for supporting the show. Please share it with a friend.
And there's some resources for parents on what your role is in your children's business, because it's not what you think it is.
Whoa, what is it? Or does it depend on the kid?
So generally, as a parent, we feel that our job in life is to manage our children, right? We're their manager. When it comes to your child's business, you are not their manager. You are simply a guide who is there to ask questions and let them be their own manager. And they get their own agency to run their business their way.
Whoa, even if you know it's going to crash and fail because they're making massive mistakes.
Yes. And the hardest lesson I ever had to learn in my daughter's business is, and it hurt, I'm not my daughter's target customer.
Whoa, that's her. That hits the heart.
Yeah, like she's not making things for me. She's making things that she enjoys making, and she's making them really to sell to other 10-year-old girls. And I haven't been a 10-year-old girl in a couple decades.
Yep.
So
So
once I was able to step
So you
back,
can't counsel her to make something you want because she's not trying to make something you want.
right? So I instead have to tell her how to do market research so that she can understand what her target customer wants, but I can't tell her how to make what I want.
Whoa, Leah, I'm trying to think of overlays on other components of parenting where we need to allow our children to thrive, and they may thrive in a different way than we do.
I mean,
And that's a
honestly,
beautiful thing.
even the clothes they pick out in the morning. I am a very neutral colored kind of person. Like I do lots of blacks and grays and navy blues. I like solids. My daughter is all about the most vibrant neon floral print she can find.
Yeah.
And the first time she picked out a dress that was hot pink with yellow and green flowers and was like, buy me this, I was like, oh, um,
You're going to have to go
okay.
sell some paintings, girl, if you want that.
I was like, okay. So, I mean, having to allow her, as much as she wants to emulate her mom, to be herself.
Yeah. Agency is so critical, especially in a world that is dawning that we're not really even sure what's going to happen, but where most of the basic tasks of life will be handled for us via AI. And so, how do we create agency where you identify purpose and meaning in what you're doing? And the meaning is not maybe the task itself, or being adaptable to ever-present change. I feel like before the Great Wars, things didn't change rapidly at all. Every 50 years, there might be a new something. But since the end of the World Wars and the dawning of the internet in the 90s and now AI in the 2000s, it's like things are changing monthly.
Yeah.
And how do you think that affects kids?
I
A kid born in 1850 versus a kid born in 1820 versus a kid born in 2020.
Oh my
I mean,
gosh.
how is that different?
I mean, just one, the infant mortality rate, they're a lot likelier to survive it.
Great point.
They're going to be a lot healthier. They have a lot more resources to sustain life, which means a kid born in 2020 doesn't have to figure out, how do I make sure I can eat and that my family is all dressed in warm weather clothing, because that's already taken care of them for them. They get to think about, what brings me joy? Where do I find connection? And because we do have all of these things that have been created via society for us, but it also means we have to kind of reinforce to them that yes, you have all of these things that are a given in our society, but you also have a obligation to our society to use these things well and to use your skills well.
Yeah, I love that. I'm also racking my brain on my kid. So as a parent, like I'm thinking if my 4-year-old son were to make a business, it'd have something to do with Komodo dragon and knives or something. And there's like a crazy paradox because kids are wildly creative, but they're also limited by their experience. So how do you help them in your curriculum dream big while grounding their ideas in something that's real?
Okay, so there's this 3-letter word that I want every parent to get really, really good at saying. It's a really fun one, and because it opens up so many doors. And so my favorite 3-letter word for you to ask is how.
Whoa. Okay, walk me through some anecdotes of how you've used that beautiful 3-letter word.
So my daughter always wants to start new businesses, and we have to go through what are they going to look like. And so she'll tell me, the most recent one was, I want to start a business for people to throw birthday parties for their pets. Okay, what do you mean by that? Well, people like to throw parties for their pets, but then they just throw away all that stuff that they use for the pictures, and it's a lot of pollution, and I don't want them to do anymore. Okay, how are you going to solve that problem? Well, I was thinking if I just had all the supplies and people could rent them from me and then give them back, then it wouldn't create so much waste. And I said, okay, how do you make sure your stuff doesn't just get ruined or thrown away? She's like, well, if I create a contract that says if you break it, you have to pay for a replacement, then it won't get damaged. And I said, okay, but how do you prevent like a paper banner from getting torn by a dog and then it's going to get thrown away and you're still going to have to replace it? You're still making waste. She said, oh, well, I can buy like fabric banners and felt banners and pennant banners that I can put in the washing machine. And so then they can use them and then I can wash them and repackage them. And I said, okay, so how would you run this business? And she says, the whole business plan. I'm going to buy these materials. I'm going to package them. I'm going to rent them out. These are the prices that I'm going to rent them out for. This is where people can get them. They'll take them and then I'll wash them and repackage them and rent them out again. I can probably do a dozen birthday parties a year and reduce this waste. And I think maybe we should ask Miss Devi, who owns the cake business, if she can make birthday cakes for dogs and cats, because then we could give birthday cakes too.
Cross merchandising.
So she's writing the pitch now. I have the notes that she took on my desk because she's writing a pitch so that she can do a pitch contest, a 60-second pitch for this business that she's inventing. But my job wasn't to tell her, oh, I know exactly how to do that. Let's get online and start buying some felt banners so you can wash them. I asked a whole bunch of, how do you do that? How does it look? How do you sell it? And she got to build her business.
I just had some neurons connect in my brain, Leah. A spark went off. You know, kids, the why. Kids always say why. Well, the parents' response to why is how. Because kids always want to do all the stuff. And our why is how. Yeah, how are you going to do that? How are you going to do that?
How do you get to
How?
be in both
And
places?
how? It's a never ending cycle. And it's like, I want you to come up with the solution. I want you to do it. How?
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's so
Oh
amazing
my gosh.
because if it is something with knives and Komodo dragons and they realize that it's not possible for them, then they've made that decision for themselves. And it also prevents you from being the bad guy who says no all the time.
Well, and maybe they come up with something that's incredible that never in a million years. I've got a lot of employees that work for me, and I'm always amazed at the solutions they come up with that me and my small mind could never. And it's like they are a unique person, and you just tell them the end goal, at least in my business, that I need. And I love being surprised by their creativity. And with kids, if they come up with a creative solution, be surprised by the way they find the means to achieve that creative solution because they're not hampered down by my limited mindset.
Yeah. And if you just get really good at how, then they will either self-select what they don't want to do anymore because it doesn't excite them enough to answer the whys and the hows, or they will be so firm in their plan by the time you get to the end of the conversation that your natural next step is, what do you need from me?
Yeah.
And then you,
How can I help?
right. And so then you become their guide. You become their Han Solo. You support them in doing what they need to do, and they go and do it. And then that also means when they fail, because they will, there is going to be something that doesn't go the way they wanted it to. When they fail, they have the ownership of, I got myself here, it didn't work. And then you can ask them, how do we recover? And then they get to create their plan. So now they're working on their problem solving, they're working on their resilience and their persistence. And all you've done is continue to say how.
This is brilliant. I'm feeling inspired, amazed, like inside of me. It's one of those things I feel like I've never thought of it before, but now that I'm hearing you say it, I'm like, it's so reasonable. I could have come up with this myself. It like makes so much sense. So
Right.
give me an example of when a kid surprised you with their leadership, because I think of young kids and lack of leadership, but has anyone ever surprised you with the spark of leadership?
2 stories for you. One of them is about my daughter. One of them is about a group of kids who looked at me like I was the dumbest adult they had ever met. So we'll start with
I
the
get that
one.
look every day.
We'll start it with the one about my daughter because it was pretty recently. Like a month ago, she walks from her school to my office after school every day, and it's like 2 blocks. And she got here, she walked into my office, put her hand down on my desk, and said, "Mom, I need to go to city council." Not hi,
Whoa.
not how was work, nothing. "Mom, I need to go to city council." Um, why? Because mom, there's not there's only one crosswalk between my school and your office, and it's so close to the school that people honk at me if I don't cross fast enough, and the traffic doesn't want to stop, and it's too close to the school. So we need another crosswalk here. And this is the street where we need a crosswalk because then the cars have time to get away from the school before the kids need to cross the street. And I can get to your office safer and easier.
Okay,
Okay.
I need to ask a question everyone listening is thinking. How old is your daughter?
She's 10.
Okay, young girl.
Yeah.
Hand on the desk. We got to go to city council. Keep going. I had to know
Yeah.
just so I could picture it.
Yeah, she's 10. And so okay, I text my friend on city council. I'm like, hey, she needs to come. When's your next meeting? She says, this is the meeting, but the agenda's packed. And I was like, that's fine. She can come during citizen comments. She gets her 3 minutes. We go to city council. She's written her script on all the things. She has data points on what time the traffic gets through versus what time the kids are walking. She's ready.
Stop.
She's so short because my daughter is the 15th percentile for height. So she is 10, but her 7-year-old sister is the same height as her. She's small. So she pulls the chair up to the podium, steps up onto the chair. So she's standing on a chair
No.
so that she can reach the microphone on the podium, reads her letter, her script, reads a few lines, looks up, makes eye contact, reads a few lines, gets to the last line, puts her paper down, looks at the entire city council and says, because the kids in our community shouldn't have to choose between getting home safe and getting home quick. And then gets off of her
Was
chair.
it a roaring round of applause? How did it end?
It's so funny.
Or
Because then
silence?
absolute silence. So then she gets off of her chair, walks up to the mayor, and hands him her script so that he has exactly what she has told him. I push her chair back, and then I'm like, hey, let's go get dinner. So we walk out, we go get dinner. Once we're out of the room, we just hear this roaring laughter. And so we go, our city streams the city council meetings. So we go and pull up the video. And when she had walked out of the room, the mayor says, okay, who wants to follow that?
You can't
Nobody.
follow that.
No, nobody
You
wanted
can.
the next person to do citizen comments after the 10-year-old demanded a crosswalk.
In
Then,
such an elegant and beautiful way.
right. Then she comes home and I tell her, hey, you have to do some follow-up because we need to make sure it happens. So she emails the city administrator and the mayor and she says, so what are the next steps that need to take place so that we can get this crosswalk painted? They invited her to one of their Main Street Planning Committee meetings because they're working on revitalizing our whole Main Street. So then she gets to go sit at this table full of adults that are planning a revitalization of an entire community and sit there and say, and where are the crosswalks going to go so that this is a walkable, safe pace for kids?
The exposure she's getting when another parent might say, hey, she's 10, she's too young for this. You can't do this. You can't do this. You have enabled her through consistent parenting and agency for her to even think of, we got to go to city council. That's not a natural thought. You have to learn how to think those thoughts.
Well, and not even we need to go. I need to go. She made it very clear to me that my job there was simply to operate the printer and drive her there.
Yes.
I was there
Yes.
solely as chauffeur. The mayor looked at me and he was like, are you guys here for Girl Scouts or Child Entrepreneurs? And I said, I'm not here. I'm just driving. And he looked at her and he was like, are you doing citizen comments? And she said, I am. She waited her turn. She let them get through all the things they needed to do. And then she was the first one in her spot when it was time for citizens comments. She read her.
And then she got him.
Yep. And then she went and we discovered it is $20,000 to paint a crosswalk where we need a crosswalk because our street is so wide. They have to put in bump outs and a pedestrian island. So now she's working with the city to figure out where in the 2027 budget the crosswalk goes. So now she's not only looking at like her own personal finance and her business finance, but now she's looking at how city finances work to make sure that this is something that happens. And it's all because, one, I've taught her, if you see a problem, fix the problem. And two, to speak up when it needs to happen.
And 20 grand for a crosswalk. The next business idea is a crosswalk company.
So
You kidding me? A little concrete and some paint? I'll do that for 20 grand. Here we go.
I firmly believed it was going to be like, they painted overnight. It's $5,000 because they have to use specialty paint or whatever, and it's done. And no, they were like, our street is very wide. So we have to have these bump outs. We have to put in a pedestrian island. Then we have to paint it. It's too expensive to go into this year's budget. And I was like, well, I was not expecting to know that a crosswalk was that much. So now if you
it's great to know now.
With a lot of crosswalks, understand that's where your tax money is going and you should be very thankful for your walkable community.
Well, and see a problem, fix the problem. The best businesses in the world are so intuitive, which is why they're so successful. People want to communicate. Well, the iPhone it allows you to communicate in the most efficient manner ever in the history of humanity. It's like every technology that is released helps people do what they want to do better. See a problem, fix a problem. They're so intuitive. It's like, why didn't I think of that?
Which leads you directly into my second story about children showing me leadership and telling me that I'm an idiot with their eyes. I was teaching a workshop on problem solving. And I explained to the girls, it happened to be 3 girls in this room. It was one of our first ever workshops, and they were 6, 9, and 11. She maybe 12, but like 6, 9, 11, 6, 9, 12, little girls, right?
Yeah.
And I tell them, this is the basics of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is completely defined by identifying a problem, solving that problem, and monetizing your solution. If you can do that 100 times, you can run 100 businesses. You can sell 100 products. That's all you have to do. Recurring over and over again. And to make this easy for you guys today, I'm going to give you a problem and you just have to solve it. So your problem today is porch pirates. Everybody is tired of having a package delivered and then getting it stolen before they get home from work. So what are you 3 going to do about it? And so they're like, oh, just put a locker on your porch and put the delivery people, put it in your locker. This is like the same thing as how we keep our stuff safe at school. And I said, that's a valid point, except for the delivery people are on really strict timelines. And they're not going to come up onto my porch and read a sign and figure out how to use my locker. So it needs to be something really easy for the delivery people to work. How are you going to do that? And they're like, okay, fine. It's going to have extender arms. So the delivery person can put it on the porch, wherever they're going to throw it, and it'll take its extender arms and put the package inside for you. Okay, cool. I like your wild robot idea here. I see where you're coming with this. So when the porch pirate's following the delivery truck, now that person's just going to pick up my locker and they're going to take my
Yeah.
expensive robot and my package. How are you going to stop them? Oh, well, we're going to put 2 bolts in the bottom of it. So it's securely attached to your porch or patio, but small enough that if you need to move it or you change houses, it can still travel with you. Okay, easy for me to move, enough of a deterrent to get somebody not to want to have to move it. I like this plan so far. When I get home from work, how do I get my package out? Because, like, am I going to lose a key or forget a combination? What do I do to get my stuff? And what if it's my birthday and somebody sent a package that I don't even know it's in there? How long will it sit
Yeah.
there? And they're like, no, 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 no. We're going to give it facial recognition software. So when it sees you on your porch, it will automatically open and hand you your package with those same arms that stored it in the first place. I'm like, well, that's really cute, guys. You're 6, 9, and 11. How are you going to program a robot like that? This feels way too complicated for you guys. And the 11-year-old, bless her heart, she really put me in my place. Dead in the eyes. Absolute eye contact.
What'd she say?
Flat-faced. I'm in robotics club. I'll figure it out.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, fine. You've passed. I give up.
What are you going to say to that? What are you going to say to that?
At that point, I was like, fine. But they started with, this is a stupid problem, and ended with, of course we can program a robot. Why wouldn't we be able to?
Yeah, well, and my first thought was Ring doorbell, of course, but a Ring doorbell still doesn't stop thieves. If you have a mask on, it's like not worth it to go after them. So you know it got stolen. At least you know it was there and then got stolen. But like the locker idea is ingenious. The arms might be a little far-fetched just because production will be a little expensive, but the porch locker idea, if they tighten that up, that's like, I need to connect you after this. I'm going to connect you with Neil Twa, my guy, buddy of mine who's on the show. And he helps people navigate online businesses with distribution and manufacturing and identifying SKUs. It's like the next level. I'm sure you're already there, but he's got some really good thoughts and a good book on the topic where I'm like, it would tie in so beautifully.
Well, I was very cruel, so I told the girls, this was practice only. Please don't go to create this, and please don't go to your robotics club teacher and tell them that you need to create a facial recognition robot, because they're going to call me with some choice words. So I don't know
No
what they're
way.
going to create next. Who knows with these girls? I mean, because they're constantly iterating. They're constantly coming up with new ideas. And the only thing that holds kids back is adults.
Yeah. So that brings me to my next question, which is we've talked through a lot of failure in the process. And what's the emotional coaching you can give to the audience around failure so that it becomes fuel instead of fire? I always say with my math curriculum, like failure is not the end of the journey. It's just part of journey. It's part of life. Failure is part of life. But how do you train kids that it's fuel? It's a feedback loop, as Raul, my guest from a couple weeks ago, would say. It's a feedback loop. It's part of the journey. How do you teach them that?
So 2 phases to it. The first one is, as a parent, you have to let them fail. And that is the hardest step for the adult, is when you see the failure coming, you can't swoop in and deflect it.
Even if you see it as clear as day.
You have to let that failure come. And then when the failure has come, you have to kind of put on your therapist hat a little bit. And you have to say, hey, I can see that this didn't go the way you wanted it to. I can tell you're disappointed. What do you think your next steps are going to be? What do you want to try? How are you feeling about this idea? What do you see going better? What did you love about this? How did it work? What were the things you want to tweak? And you just start asking lots of questions. And through that coaching, you're showing them, because kids don't learn by being told, they learn by doing it and being shown. That's why we have monkey see, monkey do, because they need you to show them how to do it.
Yeah.
You're showing them that that wasn't the end of the road, but it was a step towards the next thing. So by asking them questions, you're keeping their problem solving hat on. And by allowing them to answer with their real thoughts, you're allowing them that persistence and that growth and that grit. And you're also allowed to ask them what what went great, what do you want to see change. It's just like if you do an after actions review, what was good, what was bad, what do we want to do better next time. Every business is the same thing. What was good, what was bad, what are we doing better next time? How can we fix it? What can we address? How can we prevent it from going that way next time? And then when your kid says, you know what, I don't want to run this business anymore, I don't want to do it anymore. I have two things that a kid has to do before they're allowed to quit. One of them is they have to do one more show anyway. Okay. I know
Ooh,
this is rough. We're going to do it one more time and see how it goes. And two, they have to be able to articulate to me why they don't want to do it. They can't just say, I don't want to do it. They have to be able to explain to me why they don't want to do it. I don't want to do it because I'm not interested in this product anymore. Cool. Do you want to try a different product? I don't want to do it anymore because I'm disappointed that I failed. Great. How can we recover from that? I don't want to do it anymore because it's boring. Fabulous. What can you do to make it a little bit more interactive? I need to know what it is that's keeping you from wanting to do this so that I can help you get through it. And then once they can articulate why they don't want to do it, then you and them can put on a problem solving hat together and figure out if that is a step on their journey or the end of their journey. And because it doesn't, like, they don't have to be an 8-year-old entrepreneur and they're chained to this business for the rest of their lives. They can absolutely change their business again when they're 8.5 and when they're 9 and when they're 10 and when they're 12. They can change it as much as they want. When Melody started Melody Paints at 4.5 years old, she did not know what she wanted to do with the rest of her life. She knew what she wanted to do that day. And
yeah,
last summer, she rebranded to Melody Creates because she wanted to be able to do more than just paint.
brilliant. And isn't that the way we want to live as well as adults? We don't want to be locked in. And the most probably unhappy people in the world are people who feel chained to what they're doing, lack of agency and lack of freedom. And so you're, again, building foundational skills in these kids that will blossom throughout their whole life.
I have a psychologist friend who says like 90 something percent of your subconscious beliefs are formed by the time you're 7. Um, and a lot of those, I mean, when we start with 6-year-olds, a lot of it is teaching them these foundational subconscious beliefs in I can solve problems, I know how to handle money, I'm confident, I have good ideas. But in order to build those beliefs, we have to let them come to that conclusion on their own. Because you
Yeah.
whispering your genius into your kid's ears 700 times a day isn't the same as the kid saying, I solved this problem because I am bright.
Precisely. Precisely. So, uh, I read a really great quote. I want your feedback on this. Guy grew in to one of the greatest attorneys in all of entertainment. He was front cover of the Wall Street Journal this week. And he said, billionaire now gets, they asked what kind of car he drives. He says, I don't drive, I get driven around. And he said, I love this. He's like, I deserve it. I earned it. Anyway, that's just a little funny thing. But he said, the best thing my parents ever gave me was nothing because I never felt entitled to anything. What's your take on that?
Yes and no. There are certain things that as parents we have to give our children. We have to give them love and we have to give them safety and we have to give them food and a shelter and we have to give them comfort in their home. But we don't have to give them a new water bottle and we don't have to give them the fanciest backpack. And so explaining to our kids, all right, you have to have a backpack for school. That's on your school supply list. This one is $5 and it will get you through this school year and it doesn't like it's within my budget and it's easy. This one is $50. It's the one you want because it's got a fancy brand name on it. If you want this one that's 10 times my budget, what are you going to do to make that happen? And so telling them, I am always going to meet your basic needs. But if you
Mm,
want elevation from that status, then you need to have some skin in the game to do it.
yes. Oh, I love that. I'm always going to meet your basic needs, but if you want to elevate that status, you got to have some skin in the game, baby. Because that also builds a nasty feedback loop if you just get it for your kids. Now, every time Nike puts out the new pair of shorts or the new Hydro Flask, the new Yeti, the new whatever the new water bottles are with the straws integrated, it's like, how many water bottles are we going to get? I mean, it's insane. It's so
It's
crazy to me.
yes. My daughter, I have a preteen girl. Like, I
She's got
promise.
them all.
Yeah, but she's bought them because we had a whole conversation. I had a whole bunch of like thermos water bottles with different designs on them, and I could throw them in the dishwasher, wash them all. And she was like, I need a Stanley. And I was like, no, you don't need a Stanley. You want a Stanley.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I'm not buying I'm not buying a $30-$50 water bottle for, at the time she was 8. Like, that's just not
Yeah.
happening. If you want that, you better figure it out. We had a children's business fair. She sold a bunch of paintings and she went and bought herself a Stanley. She had it 2 months, forgot it at school over Christmas break.
No. What? Did she get it back after Christmas break?
She did get it back after
Gone.
Christmas break.
Oh, phew.
It was gross. It went through the dishwasher twice before I would let her drink out of it again, because I was like, we just really need to make sure this is sanitized all the way through.
Yeah.
All the parts taken apart. But now, 2 years later, I think she uses it once every 2 or 3 months. But
Yeah.
she knows if she wants that status symbol, she's responsible for getting herself a status symbol. I will always make sure she's hydrated. There is always thermoses at our house.
Yeah. There's always a vessel to carry water. If you want the latest one with the latest colors and whatever feature that is game changing, that makes no difference in your life,
Right.
then yeah. Oh my gosh. All right, Leah, we got to wrap this up. This is too good. I'm learning so much. I'm so fired up. I'm thinking Neil Twa. I'm thinking our Toledo's Moms group. I can't wait to connect you with. You've already talked about helping without hijacking, which is massive. I think it's one huge area parents misstep. And where do I want to go? I've got a bunch of questions I didn't get to. Let me just scan through this real quick. Ooh. Okay, I like cross-domain takeaways. So let's end here. And people, you got to go check out Leah and learn more. You use micro goals and self-rewards to keep yourself moving. How does modeling your own imperfections become a leadership tool for the kids you teach?
Oh, so I I teach autistic kids and I have ADHD and I'm probably autistic. We just didn't do the diagnosis thing. And so I think it's really important to make all of the kids see that the tools you need don't make you less than. So I take fidgets when I teach because I'm like, I got to keep my hands busy.
Yeah.
And so I'm really good about showing them that you can be an entrepreneur, you can be a leader, you can be an authority, and you can still be human. You don't have to pick between being a human being alone in your box or being out in the world doing something, because the world is full of people who need things and every one of them needs to see that they're not the only one. So you are an amazing leader as a child or as an adult when you advocate for your own needs. And so I do it and I tell the kids to do it. And I think it gives them, again, the agency to say, please understand that I really love your class, but I don't learn best sitting down. So I'm going to stand in the back corner and I'm going to be standing and taking notes because this is how I learn. And that doesn't mean
Yeah.
anything is wrong with you.
I'm a big proponent of vulnerability and idiosyncrasy. I've talked a lot about the ideal isn't perfection. The ideal is the pursuit of perfection. It's the journey. There is no destination in life. It is continual growth, which is why I liked your micro awards. Give me some examples of your micro awards you set up for yourself, because I think we can gamify our lives in a way to make it more enriching for ourselves.
Absolutely. So I am a giant child, and I will not deny that at all. So I do
You
lots
and
of,
me.
like, I have a sticker book and I put stickers in my sticker book and I'll be like, okay, I have to go to this super long networking thing. And when I'm done, I'm going to swing by the store because I know that they have a sticker display and I'm going to get a silly sticker And I might get I might order online one of those like adulting badges that's like, I showered today. And I will stick that on my planner and be like, I showered today. You are allowed to have a sticker chart as a grown up. Nobody said you can't. And they will bring
Amen.
that joy. I do like, oh, you know what? I think at the end of this lunch, I'm gonna swing by Starbucks and I'm gonna get myself a brownie. And I might say, you know what? I reached this really cool goal that I've had. So we're planning a family vacation because your micro goals can be whatever you want them to be, and they can be big goals too, as long as you don't hold them over your head. You can't move the goalposts on yourself once you've made a goal. Once you
Ooh,
make that
say
goal,
more about that.
because that's what we do. We always say, like, oh, after I do this little task, and once I clean this one corner of my doom room, then I'm going to go have a break and have coffee with my friend. And then you say, oh, I don't know. I really feel like there's still two more things that I really need to get done. So then you say, in order to have coffee with my friend, I need to put away this load of laundry and I need to go cook lunch and then I can go see my friend. And then you're continuously lying to yourself, moving your goalpost. And then when you can't even trust yourself, then your kids don't trust you because they know you're going to be moving the goalpost on them too. So once you have set a goal, then stick to that goal and that reward. Don't try and reset it or play the system.
One thing I love, and maybe I'm well known for, is I love to celebrate big and small things. Exactly what you said. You hit a benchmark, whatever you've decided, big or small. And a lot of times you have to celebrate the small things to start because the small things are what get you to the big things. If you wait for the big things, like that's a couple years down the road. And almost everything I do in my professional life is multi-year projects. And it takes so long. And then you lose one. So it's like a couple years to work for something you end up not even getting. And so we just have micro stakes in the ground along the way. And when we get there, we, depending on how big, we do coffees, we do dinners, we do drinks, we do whatever, nights out. And because you got to mark your progress. You have to. Life should be enjoyable. It should be fun. It doesn't have to be despairing.
So, fun tidbit about me, I'm working on doing a TEDx. And I don't know how much you know about TEDx, but they're really hard to get. And so on average, it's 87 applications before you get a stage.
Yo.
Yeah. That means I'm looking down the barrel at at least 86 rejection letters. And so I
Yeah.
can't just tell myself, I get to celebrate when I get my TEDx. Because do you know how disheartened I would be by the time I got the third rejection letter? Because all of those are no's, I'm not getting there. So I celebrate every 5 applications. Whether it's whether I hear back, whether it's a good thing, whether I make it to the second round, I don't care. Every
Yeah.
5 applications is a celebration. Because that was 5 more opportunities that I took a chance on. And eventually, I will get to that 87th one, or I will get to that 100th one, or I will get to whatever it is for me, and I will get my stage. And by that point, I will be so proud of everything I did to get there and that I finally got it. Because sometimes those rejection letters do hurt a little.
Oh, they hurt a lot. They hurt a lot. I always say the reason salespeople get paid so much isn't for what they do, it's for the rejection they endure. It is the hardest thing. It's why salespeople get paid like doctors, because rejection is as hard or harder than surgery. It is, nobody wants to do it. So I love your strategy of building in rewards to anticipate rejection. So you're it changes your mindset where you're chasing rejection. I get to celebrate after the 5.
So I used to be in sales, one of my many jobs, and I used to do a coloring sheet because I would have to do cold calls. And you
Oh,
think
yeah.
sales is hard. Cold calls is the Mount Everest of sales because it's literally just you call people and they say terrible things and then they hang up on you. And I've been called some colorful names. Um, but I would do a coloring sheet, and every 100 people who told me no, I would go buy myself an ice cream cone. So if you said yes, I was a little bit disappointed because you were keeping me away from my ice cream. But then I was
Yeah.
making money. So then I was like, well, either way I win. Either I'm getting ice cream or I'm getting money. Win-win for me.
for non-salespeople, it's a great skill. There's negative things in life we typically try and turn our back on. And if you can take Leah's idea of rewarding yourself for the bad outcome, sometimes it's everyone, sometimes it's every couple. If the frequency is pretty high, do it, because it will. You'll start chasing the thing you used to run away from, and you have so much more freedom when you're not running away from things.
You don't, it doesn't become a bad day versus a good day. You don't, oh, I had a bad day because I got a rejection today. It's, oh, today I had a lot of rejections, so I got ice cream. No, next week it's a good day because I got a good sale. Either way, you've always made a choice to have a good day.
And it's a philosophy change, a paradigm shift of the journey is what I'm living for, not the end result. Because the end result, we don't even celebrate the end result, because once we get it, we're already, like you said, we've moved the goalpost to the next thing.
Yeah.
And we need to celebrate the journey. Total rejection, a day that seems wasted. It's like, no way. I showed up. I planned. I achieved my plan. I'm celebrating. I did what I came to do. It is a good day. I love that. Leah, leave us off. You get the last word. What did I miss? What do you want to share that I didn't ask about?
Okay, so I'm going to say my most controversial thing that I tell anybody ever. My most controversial thing I'm going to tell you guys is children are not the future. And by pretending that they are, we are robbing them of their opportunities today.
Unpack that. Unpack that. I'm going to get censored for that statement.
Right, I know. So we all tell people like children are the future, children are the future. And then that becomes a scapegoat to they can't do things today because they're the future. But then once they reach adulthood, they've been told no and been put off so many times. By the time they're our age, they're apathetic, they're frustrated, they don't think their voice matters because we spent their whole formative years telling them not yet, but never telling them when. So if we just start now by telling them yes within your means, then as their means get bigger, their yeses get bigger.
I'm letting that one sink in. That is juicy.
Told you
That
it was
I've never heard
controversial.
that take before. I've never heard that take before, and it is so real. You're the future, which inherently means it's not today, but by the time they get to the future, they're beat down old adults, and now's not the time because your boss won't let you. And it's like, today is the day. We always talk about it on Fulfillment Project. There's two guarantees: today, this moment, right now with you, Leah, and death. Those are the only two things we're sure of. So let's not squander the day.
And that includes for our kids. And so one of the things I tell people is our children are not the leaders of tomorrow. They're the students of leadership today.
Dude, it's not going to take you 87 apps. You're going to get there. How many have you put in so far?
30.
For TEDx? 30? Oh, yeah, you're close. You're so
I'm at
close.
30.
Your content's so good.
Well, if you know an organizer, send them my way. Shortcut me to the front of a line.
Dude, I'm just hoping that your hook is what you just said, and the title is that, something like that.
So
that's so gold.
the working title, because TEDx will change the title if the organizers want to, but the working title is Dear Parents and Teachers, Your Children Are Not the Future.
They're not. They're the today. They are the today.
Go teach them today. Go sit in a room full of kids and hear what they have to tell you today, because they will blow your mind. At dinner tonight, ask your kids a minor inconvenience in their life and how they would solve it. They've been thinking about it. You just haven't asked.
Okay, that was so freaking good. What else you got for me? What else you got? You get the other last word.
I think that's the biggest thing. My biggest takeaway that I want every adult to see is that really we are the bottleneck, and we are what's robbing our kids and therefore our future. And if we want to get really down into the nitty gritty of it, if we want our grandchildren to have better futures, we need to be better to our kids now.
We are the bottleneck, probably because of selfishness, probably because I'm tired, because I have my own priorities. I don't want to take the time and have the patience. Is that it?
Scared.
Yeah, totally scared. It's scary to not have control.
Well, and by the time we've reached adulthood, we've become jaded and we've built in this cynicism, and we think, oh, you're just a naive child. And we refuse to acknowledge that their lack of fear isn't naivete, but it's freedom. And we should allow them to show us what that world looks like.
because it's what we want. And maybe that's why we repress it, because they have what we want and we're jealous or scared or don't know how to handle that
Right.
gift anymore.
There's so much in us as adults that we want the control, we want to protect them, we don't want to be afraid. And then we use that as I'm protecting my child by preventing these risks. But then all we're doing, maybe your kid has an idea to cure cancer, and by the time they get old enough to go get a job in a lab, you've already told them don't take those risks, and they don't try the experiment that could save the day. And maybe it's not that extreme. Maybe it's a porch pirate robot. Maybe it's a party business for pets. Maybe it's just really colorful lemonade. But if you don't give them the chance, how will you ever know what they're capable of?
Nothing to add. I'm going to drop your links into the show notes so everyone can find you. Anywhere else they can get you? You dropped the 2 websites before to either learn more or to participate. Anywhere else online we can direct people?
Facebook, Instagram, and sort of LinkedIn. I'm trying to get better about using LinkedIn. But they're all just Society of Child Entrepreneurs or Leah K. Ellis. And you do have to include the K, because the other Leah Ellis is this really smart chemical engineering lady. And I don't know anything about that kind of stuff.
I love it. Leah, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Everyone, we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Hey, everyone. Quick 10-second ask from you. If you're digging the show and you're watching on YouTube, please give it a thumbs up and comment your favorite part. If you're listening on Spotify, please give this show a 5-star rating. On iTunes, please leave a quick review. If you're listening on Substack, please subscribe and join the comments. You may want to subscribe in a few different places. For example, YouTube, you get all of our short content, 60-second to 90-second clips, our segments where we segment out 1 to 6 minute different segments of each episode. And then if you subscribe on the Substack, I summarize the episode in a newsletter. You can read it in a couple minutes. And then a couple days after the episode, I put out a self-reflection guide to help you personalize the content to your life. Thank you so much for supporting the show. Please share it with a friend.